ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च चिरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणो रघुनाथानुतं हंसजीवम् साधवैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिनि। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायिते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतुषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिकान्ता राधाकान्तं नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरोर्भ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमोस्तुते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्रे येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वलितो ज्ञानमय प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपरिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। Studying chapter 13 of Bhagavad-Gita as it is, we are discussing about the subject matter of Gyeya, which is the object of knowledge. And there are two, the soul and the super soul. Yesterday we heard about few qualities or characteristics of the super soul. That's how we began the discussion in this section. So, as I was mentioning, the qualities of the super soul are explained in a way which is a little confusing sometimes. So, the principle that is followed is you try to negate the present experience to tell you about something which you have never experienced before. So, this is a style or this is an approach followed. Uh, that's why it requires a lot of contemplation. And only one can get a hint of what is being said. So let's go to verse 16. Bahir antascha bhutanam charam charam evacha shukshmatvat tad avikyayam durasthang chantike chatat. The supreme truth exists outside and inside of all living beings, the moving and the non-moving. Because he is subtle, he is beyond the power of the material senses to see or to know. Although far, far away, is also near to all. So same style is being followed here also. He is far, he is near, he is inside, he is outside. Oh, but in Vedic literature, we understand that Narayana, The Supreme Person is residing both inside and outside of every living entity. He is present in both the spiritual and material worlds. Although he is far, far away, still he is near to us. These are the statements of Vedic literature. Asino durang vrajati shayano yati sarvataha. Kathopanishad 1.2.21. And because he's always engaged in transcendental bliss, we cannot understand how he's enjoying his full opulence. We cannot see or understand with these material senses. Therefore, in the Vedic language, it is said that to understand him, our material mind and senses cannot act. But one who has purified his mind and senses by practicing Krishna consciousness in devotional service can see him constantly. So, this is very important. Of course, when I speak all these things, you may say, well, we never heard such a thing in any other class or something like that. But these things are uh, understood over the time of practicing Krishna consciousness. So when the mind and senses are purified, which means the contamination of the mind and senses is gone. And that is only possible if we follow the process of Krishna consciousness nicely. Then your senses and mind are able to perceive things which you could not perceive before. You become more aware of those things. Just like, for example, when the mind and senses are not pure. So when you look at the deity form of Krishna, it only looks like a non-moving object which does nothing but just stands. But when your mind and senses become purified, then you see actually a moving object, not just a non-moving object. So the deity then moves, and you can see the deity moving. You can see the deity dancing. You can see the deity talking. You can see the deity smiling, or you can even see the deity being angry at you. So that becomes possible because the senses and mind have now become purified. You know. And this is not something which is just theoretical. As we make progress in our Krishna consciousness, when we become more and more aware of the subtle energies and spiritual energies which are functioning around us. You know. So this is something which comes by practice and experience. So Prabhupada says, as long as the mind and senses are impure, one cannot see those things. That means one still has the mundane vision. Like, Srila Prabhupada was in Vrindavan and he was taking his disciples on a tour of Vrindavan. A very small group. How fortunate were those people who got a chance to see Vrindavan with Prabhupada as the guide, showing them this is Radha Kund, this is Govardhan, this and that, right? And Srila Prabhupada was so ecstatic. Many of them, they felt that Srila Prabhupada is actually seeing the pastime happening in front of his eyes and telling to them, his eyes were so full of life. He was not telling something which happened in the past. He was narrating as if it is going on right now in front of him. Mm. So he was so happy and so excited. So when Prabhupada was telling about all this, one of his disciples, he told Prabhupada, "Dear Prabhupada, I'm sorry to admit this, but you are speaking of such nice pastimes and you are saying it's all happening here. But since the time I have come to Vrindavan, the only thing which I have noticed is bad buildings, improper, sewage system, a lot of dust and dirt and pollution around, and the monkeys and the dogs. And that's all I noticed in Vrindavan. I didn't notice anything which you are describing." So then Prabhupada said, yes, because there is a speck in your eye. So speck means a little dust. So that devotee started rubbing his eyes. Really? I got a speck on my eye? So Prabhupada started laughing. He said, no, that's not the speck. The speck is not of some dust on your eye. The speck is in the heart. The heart is contaminated. The heart is impure. Therefore, you're not able to see what I'm able to see. So that's what it's mentioned here by Prabhupada in the purport. When the mind and senses are purified, then you can perceive things more than what you can actually perceive by the cross senses, mundane senses. Mhm. And one can then come to the stage that one can see Krishna constantly, always. It is confirmed in Brahma Samhita that the devotee was developed love for the Supreme God can see him always without cessation. And it is confirmed in Bhagavad-Gita 11.54 that he can be seen and understood only by devotional service. Bhaktya tu ananyaya kyaha. Next verse. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam iva cha sthitam bhuta bhartri cha tachkeyam grashishnu prabhavishnu cha. Although the supersoul appears to be divided among all beings, he is never divided. So by mundane vision, it appears that the supersoul has divided itself and then taken position in the hearts of all living entities. That's how we understand. Okay, he's one and he has divided himself into millions and millions and millions, and he has occupied every single corner of the space. But he's not divided. He's situated as one. Although he's the maintainer of every living entity, it is to be understood that he devours and develops all, which means the all pervasiveness of the super soul is being explained here. It's all pervasive and it's one, it's not divided. A very good example is given in the purport by Srila Prabhupada to understand this concept. We'll read the purport by Daini Mataji. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Pranam. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart as the super soul. Does this mean that he has become divided? No. Actually, he is one. The example is given of the sun. The sun at the meridian is situated in its place. But if one goes for 5,000 miles in all direction and asks, where is the sun? Everyone will say that it is shining on his head. In the Vedic literature, this example is given to show that although he is undivided, he is situated as if divided. Although it is said in Vedic literature that one Vishnu is present everywhere by his omnipotence, just as the sun appears in many places to many persons, and the Supreme Lord, although the maintainer of every living entity, devours everything at the time of annihilation. This was confirmed in the 11th chapter when the Lord said that he had come to devour all the warriors assembled at Kurukshetra. He also mentioned that in the form of time, he devours also. He is the annihilator, killer of all. When there is a creation, he develops all from their original state, and at that time of annihilation, he devours them. The Vedic hymns confirm that the fact that he is the origin of all living entities and the rest of all. After creation, everything rests in his omnipotence, and after annihilation, everything again returns to rest in him. These are the confirmations of Vedic hymns. Yato va imani इमानि भूतानि ज्ञान्ति येन जातनि जीवान्ति यत् प्रणयन्ति अभीशं विशन्ति तद् ब्रह्म तद् विज्ञास विज्ञासव तत्रीय उपनिषद 3.1. Thank you, Prabhuji.
So the example of the sun is given. It's a very nice example. It will be explained later also. So you see, when the sun is in the sky, the sun is also reflected in different water bodies. If there are pots put on the floor and the pots are full of water, then you see the sun in those pots, right? The reflection of the sun in those pots. But though the pots are reflecting the sun, it doesn't mean that the sun is now divided into 100 pots, 200 pots, 1,000 pots. It's the same sun, one sun. But you see the reflection in the different pots. And when those pots will break and the water will flow out of the pot, then the reflection will disappear. But you then bring a new pot, pour water into it, the reflection will come again. Isn't it? So just like that reflection is present there, as long as water is present there, And as soon as you remove the water, the reflection is gone. This whole phenomenon doesn't affect the sun which is in the sky. That sun in the sky remains unaffected by all the stuff that happens, isn't it? So that's how Paramatma is situated in one place. But he is reflected in the mirror of our heart. Every living entity's heart is reflected, always there, you know. But he's not like, okay, let me divide into infinite number of small, small pieces and that enter into hearts of every living entity. Nothing like that. He doesn't do that. Mm. So this is the inconceivable potency of Paramatma. This is how he manages. Okay, understood. Hmm? That's how the Paramatma is. Mm, ज्योतिषामपि तज्ज्योतिस् तमसः परमुच्यते ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं ज्ञानगम्यं हृदि सर्वस्य विष्ठितम्. He is the source of light in all luminous objects. He is beyond the darkness of matter and he is unmanifested. His knowledge is the object of knowledge and is the goal of knowledge. He is situated in everyone's heart. So he is knowledge, he is the object of knowledge and is the goal of knowledge. Jnanam Gyayam Jnana Gamyam. So very interesting. So he is all of that and he's situated in everyone's heart. Let's read the purport. Srinivas Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu Dandavat. For the super soul, the supreme personality of Godhead is the source of light in all luminous objects like the sun, moon, and stars. In the Vedic literature, we find that in the spiritual kingdom, there is no need of sun or moon because the effulgence of the Supreme Lord is there. In the material world, that Brahma Jyoti, the Lord's spiritual effulgence, is covered by the Mahat Tattva, the material elements. Therefore, in this material world, we require the assistance of sun, moon, electricity, etc. for light. But in the spiritual world, there is no need of such things. It is clear.
Vijay, you are on mute. Yeah, continue.
It is muted, Prabhuji. From where? Okay.
Now you can continue.
Yeah. From the starting?
No, we heard you for a few lines.
Okay. But in the spiritual world, there is no need of such things. It is clearly stated in the Vedic literature that because of his luminous effulgence, everything is illuminated. It is clear, therefore, that his situation is not in the material world, he is situated in the spiritual world, which is far, far away in the spiritual sky. That is also confirmed in the Vedic literature. Aditya Varanam, Tamasa Parasat Parastat Shvetaswaratara Upanishad 3.8. He is just like the sun, eternally luminous, but he is far, far beyond the darkness of this material world. His knowledge is transcendental. The Vedic literature confirms that Brahman is concentrated transcendental knowledge. To one who is anxious to be transferred to that spiritual world, knowledge is given by the Supreme Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart. One Vedic mantra, Shvetasvatara Upanishad 6.18 says, Tam aha devam atma buddhi prakasam mumuksar vai saranam aham prapadye. One must surrender unto Supreme Personality of Godhead if he at all wants liberation. As far as goal of ultimate knowledge is concerned, it is also confirmed in Vedic literature. Tamaheva viditvai mrutyum eti. Only by knowing him one can surpass the boundary of birth and death. Svetasvatara Upanishad 3.8 is situated in everyone's heart as the supreme controller. The supreme is as legs and hands distributed everywhere, and this cannot be said of the individual soul. Therefore, that there are two knowers of the field of activity, the individual soul and the super soul must be admitted. One's hands and legs are distributed locally, but Krishna's hands and legs are distributed everywhere. This is confirmed in the Svetasvatara Upanishad 3.17. Sarvasya Prabhum Ishanam Sarvasya Saranam Brahat. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Super Soul, is the Prabhu or Master of living all living entities. Therefore, he is the ultimate shelter of all living entities. So there is no denying the fact that the Supreme Super Soul and the individual soul are always different. Hare Krishna Guru.
Okay. Iti kshetram tatha jnanam gyeyam choktam samasatah madbhaktadetat vikyaya madbhavayupapadyate. Thus, the field of activities, the body, knowledge, and the knowable have been summarily described by me. Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attain to my nature. So, Krishna is saying, I have summarily described all the subject. Kshetra, Kshetragya, Jnana, Geya, and only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attend to my nature. So again and again, Krishna repeats this in whole Bhagavad Gita that this all can be understood properly only by those who are devotees of Krishna, which means that we will understand to the degree we have devotion. I have little devotion to Krishna, so I'll understand in in little ways, in little amounts. If I have devotion to Krishna in huge amount, then I'll understand also it deeply. That's the whole thing, proportional to our devotion. Purport. Let's read the purport. Sarveshwar Jagannath Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavatam. The Lord has described in summary the body, knowledge, and the knowable. The knowledge is the three things: the knower, the knowable, and the process of knowing. Combined with these are called Vijnana, or the science of knowledge. Perfect knowledge can be understood by unalloyed devotees of the Lord directly. Others are unable to understand. The monist says that at the ultimate stage, these three items become one. But devotees do not accept this. Knowledge and development of knowledge means understanding oneself in Krishna consciousness. We are being led by material consciousness, but as soon as we transfer all consciousness to Krishna's activity and realize that Krishna is everything, then we attain the real life. In other words, knowledge is nothing but the preliminary stage of understanding devotional service perfectly. In the 15th chapter, we will be very clearly explained. Now, to summarize, one may understand that the verse 6 and 7, beginning from Mahabhutani and continuing through Chetana Dhriti, analyze the material elements and certain manifestation of the symptoms of life. These combine to form the body or the field of activity. These verse 8 through 12 form Tvam through Tattva Janarata Darshanam. Describe the process of knowledge for understanding both types of knower of the field of activity, namely the soul and the super soul. Then the verse 13 through 18, beginning from the Anadi Matparam and continuing throughout Riti Shashvasya Vishtutam, describe the soul and the Supreme Lord or the super soul. Thus, three items have been described: the field of activity, the body, the process of understanding, and both the soul and the super soul. It is specially described here that only the unalloyed devotees of the Lord can understand these three items clearly. So, these devotees, Bhagavad Gita is fully useful. It is they who can attain the Supreme Lord goal, the nature of Supreme Lord Krishna. In other words, only devotee and not others can understand Bhagavad Gita and derive the desired results. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, we are not able to hear you.
Hare Krishna. I'm sorry, I got someone at the door, so I had to look at that. We'll continue. Are you able to hear me? Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
So, Prabhu, you read the purport. Next, we go to verse 20. Any questions from this verses which we discussed now?
No problem.
Any questions? No? Let's go to the next section. So, next is Prakriti, Purusha, and the union. They're coming together. Purusha and union. Verse number 20. Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Vidyanadi Ubhavapi Ikarangsha Gunangshaiva Vidhi Prakriti Sambhavan. Material nature and the living entities should be understood to be beginningless. The transformations and the modes of matter are products of material nature. So both Prakriti and Purusha, they are anadi, beginningless. Their transformations are products of nature. Anadi word is very important. Anadi means no beginning, without beginning, beginningless. So both the jivas and the material nature are beginningless. Uh, so this is how we understand, looking at this diagram. From Ishvara, two things come out. One is the jiva, and the other is Prakriti, right? Jiva and Prakriti both come from Ishvara. And the association of Jiva with Prakriti, of course, this is about those Jivas who are conditioned. So, this association of the Jivas with the Prakriti is also Anadi. Mhm. Association is also without beginning, Anadi. So, Anadi without beginning in time or eternal from before creation. Mhm. Why this association is there between the Jiva and the Prakriti? Because the Jiva is trying to lord over Prakriti. So that's why this association is there. Purport. Read the purport. Sankarshan Vishnu Prabhuji, please read.
By the knowledge given in this chapter, one can understand the body, the field of activities, and the knower of the body, both the individual and the individual soul and the super soul. The body is the field of activity and is composed of material nature. The individual soul that is embodied and enjoying the activities of the body is the Purus or the living entity. He is one knower and the other is super soul. Of course, it is to be understood that both the super soul and the individual entity are different manifestations of the supreme personality of the Godhead. The living entity is the category the living entity is in the category of his energy, and the super soul is in the category of his personal expansion. Both material nature and the living entity are eternal. That is to say, that they existed before the creation. The material manifestation is from the energy of the Supreme Lord, and so also are the living entities. But the living entities are of the superior energy. Both the living entities and material nature existed before this cosmos was manifested. Material nature was absorbed in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahavishnu, and when it was required, it was manifested by the agency of Mahatattva. Similarly, the living entities are also in him, and because they are conditioned, they are averse to serving the Supreme Lord. Thus, they are not allowed to enter into the spiritual sky. But with the coming forth of material nature, these living entities are again given a chance to act in the material world and prepare themselves to enter into the spiritual world. That is the mystery of this material creation. Actually, the living entity is originally the spiritual part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, but due to his rebellious nature, he is conditioned within the material nature. It really does not matter how these living entities or superior entities of the Supreme Lord have come in contact with material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead knows, however, 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 how and why this actually took place. In the scriptures, the Lord says that those attracted by this material nature are undergoing a hard struggle for existence. But we should know it with certainty from the descriptions of these few verses that all transformations and influences of material nature by the three modes are also production of material nature. All transformations and variety in respect to living entities are due to the body. So, as far as spirit is concerned, living entities are all the same. Hare Krishna.
Next verse. कार्यकारणकर्तृत्वे हेतुः प्रकृतिरुच्यते पुरुषः सुखदुःखानां भोक्तृत्वे हेतुरुच्यते. Nature is said to be the cause of all material causes and effects, whereas the living entity is the cause of various sufferings and enjoyments in this world. Karya karana kartritve hetuhu prakritiruchyate, which means whatever effect is there and the cause is there, both material. It's produced by material nature. That's what the verse 3.27 also said. Prakriti kriya manani gunehi karmani sarvashah anikar vimutatma kartahamiti manyate. So the activities are done by Prakriti, but the sense of enjoyment or suffering that belongs to the living entity. Hmm. Activity as such is not done by the living entity. Uh, if you separate the living entity from Prakriti, then the activities are not done by the living entity. Of course, in the conditioned state, we cannot separate the living entity from Prakriti. They both work in team, they work together. But if you just want to understand it by analysis and you separate them, so one is the Prakriti and the other is the living entity. So the activities are done by the Prakriti aspect, not by the living entity himself or itself. So what does the living entity do? The living entity is either thinking that this activity is making me happy or this activity is making me sad, is making me suffer. Hmm. So the activity as such is not associated with happiness or suffering. It's you as a living entity who has some conception of happiness and some conception of suffering. So when that activity happens, you associate happiness with that or you associate suffering with that. Hmm. That's all how it is. So that's why it is said, happiness is a subjective experience. It's not an objective experience. Or suffering is a subjective experience. It's not objective. Because what makes one suffer, the same thing may make someone else experience happiness. It happens. And what makes one happy, maybe the same thing makes others suffer. Mhm. So the activities are done by Prakriti, but the sense of happiness and this is done by uh, Jiva, the entity, right? So this is, let's read the purport and then we'll try to understand this a little bit by the commentary given by Ilaya Baldev Vidyabhushan on it. Sharada Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. The different manifestations of body and senses among the living entities are due to material nature. There are 8,400,000 different species of life, and these varieties are creations of the material nature. They arise from the different sensual pleasures of the living entity, who thus desire to live in this body or that. When he is put into different bodies, he enjoys different kinds of happiness and distress. His material happiness and distress are due to his body and not to himself as he is. In his original state, there is no doubt of enjoyment. Therefore, that is his real state. Because of the desire to lord it over material nature, he is in the material world. In the spirit, he is in the material world. In the spiritual world, there is no such thing. The spiritual world is pure, but in the material world, everyone is struggling hard to acquire different kinds of pleasures for the body. It might be more clear to state that this body is the effect of the senses. The senses are instruments for gratifying desire. Now, the sum total, body and instrument senses, is offered by material nature, as will be clear in the next verse. The living entity is blessed or damned with circumstances according to his past desire and activity. According to one's desire and activities, material nature places one in various residential quarters. The being himself is the cause of his attaining such residential quarters, and his attendant, Prabhuji, if you can scroll down, and his attendant, and his attendant enjoyment or suffering. Once placed in some kind of body, he comes under the control of nature because the body, being matter, acts according to the laws of nature. At that time, the living entity has no power to change that law. Suppose an entity is put into the body of a dog. As soon as he is put into the body of a dog, he must act like a dog. He cannot act otherwise. And if the living entity is put into the body of a hog, then he is forced to eat stool and act like a hog. Similarly, if the living entity is put into the body of a demigod, he must act according to his body. This is the law of nature. But in all circumstances, the supersoul is with the individual soul. That is explained in the Vedas as follows: Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakhayaha. The Supreme Lord is so kind upon the living entity that he always accompanies the living individual soul and in all circumstances is present as the Supersoul or Paramatma. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you. So we'll try to understand few things explained in this context. Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan explains that, let's say we take an example of a car. So a car is an inanimate object. It doesn't function on its own, isn't it? Hmm? Then there is an animate man. So this animate man, when he enters the car, so the car also becomes animated. The car starts functioning. Before that, the car not function on its own. So similarly, it's explained that there is Prakriti which is inanimate. The car has potency to drive. The car has all those abilities. It can it can it can drive on the road on its own. I mean, the man doesn't really have to do anything. He just have to press the accelerator. That's all. Ignite the engine, press the accelerator. But the car does all the job. So similarly, the capacity to function is already there in the Prakriti. It's not that the capacity to function is coming from the Jiva, it's there in the Prakriti. However, it is inanimate. But when the Jiva enters the Prakriti, then this Prakriti now, you can say, has gotten the energy to function. It has gotten the life to function. Hmm. But the problem is what? The Jiva, once he enters the Prakriti, he develops this false understanding. I am doing everything. It's like when the person enters the car, he starts thinking, it's me who is doing everything. Actually, he's not doing everything. He is only doing few things. Everything is being done by the car. But he starts thinking, no, I am doing everything. You know, I am taking a left, I am taking a right. But he's not taking left, the car is taking left, the car is taking right. Mhm. And that's how when Jiva also starts identifying, it's me who is doing everything. It's me. I am the doer. Um, I'm the, like Prabhupada says, I'm the center of all that is happening. Fine. So this is very nice analogy given by Vidya Bhushan to explain how the Jiva is responsible for seeing something as happiness or suffering or distress. And actually, the activities are carried out by Prakriti, and the Jiva is separate from Prakriti. So, this is what one has to realize. If the living entity is put into the body of a dog, he must act like a dog. He cannot act otherwise. Because once you sit in the car, then you have to function the way the car functions. You can't function beyond that. Let's say if I have a bike, then I'm limited by how I can, ride the bike. I can't ride the bike in the way I can ride the car or I can ride the truck, isn't it? So it's a difference. So sitting in the bike, you have to function the way the bike functions. Sitting in the car, you have to function the way the car functions. Sitting in the bus, you have to function the way the bus functions. Similarly, when one has gotten a certain kind of body, then one is forced to function in a certain way. However, that is all because of the body, not because of him, person, the entity. All right, let's go to the next verse.
Prabhu, one question for you.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, in this Prakriti, Purusha is explanation. Why Purusha is described as an enjoyer, means pleasure and pain.
Because he,
But when,
he thinks himself as an enjoyer.
okay, if Purusha is inactive, then how does it experience that pleasure and pain?
How is the Purusha inactive? Purusha is active. The Prakriti is inactive.
Purusha as a living entity will be inactive, no, Prabhu, sometimes.
Why it will be inactive? How can the living entity be inactive? You tell, you think about it. How can it be inactive?
Once he dies, then maybe soul will be there, but as a living entity, he will die, example, so that it will be inactive.
Then who will be inactive? If the soul is the person we are talking about, the soul, wherever it is always active.
Okay, the body is inactive.
Body is inactive. So body is Prakriti, body is not soul,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
So body is like the car. So when the driver is out of the car stops functioning. Similarly, when the soul is out of the body stops functioning. But as soon as the soul is in, then the body starts functioning. Just like when you sit in the car, then the car starts doing everything. You just have to switch on the engine. And once the engine is on, everything starts functioning. Right? So here this whole thing is being explained to tell us that please try to understand the difference between Prakriti and yourself. Don't identify too much with Prakriti. That Prakriti is Whatever is being done by Prakriti, it's being done by me. One has to learn to see oneself separate. This is what jnana means. Jnana means it makes you see yourself separate from the world. You know, you see yourself aloof from the world, not as a part of it.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
No, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, one question. Uh, is Prakriti, I mean, this is getting influenced by the modes of material nature.
Prakriti is modes of material nature.
Hmm.
Yes, Prakriti is itself modes of material nature.
Yes, Prabhuji, yeah.
It is not separate, no?
Mm-hmm.
It's not separate.
Because different living entities, I mean, among the human beings also different behave, I mean, they behave differently based on their.
So that is not, that is we need to understand. Actually, they are behaving differently. So what is behaving differently? It's the Prakriti which is behaving.
Mm. Yeah, exactly, to bring out the conclusion from this analogy.
Prakriti is behaving. It's like different types of cars. You change the
Mm.
car. So if I'm sitting in a small car, then I'll function like a small car. If I'm sitting in a big car, I'll function like a big car.
Mm.
But what is functioning actually? It's the car functioning, isn't it?
Mm. Yes, Prabhuji.
So th- we start identifying it with it too much. That is the whole thing. And that's why this car analogy is so nice because it makes you very much relate. You can relate with it, you know. Like I've seen people who have big cars, they also feel that we are very big.
Mm.
Yeah, it is true. That's how the psychology works. People are interested in buying big cars? What is the difference of a big car and a small car? There are many big cars where only four people can sit, and that's what
Yes.
even a small car allows. It allows only four people, isn't it? But as soon as they sit in the big car because it has a big size, they also think that I'm big person because I have a big car. I'm sitting in a big car. So, if there is a big car coming and there is a small car coming, the person sitting in the big car will have this expectation because I am big and I have a big car, the small car should give me way. I should not wait for the small car. The small car should wait for me because I have a big car. You know, isn't it? So
Mm.
this is how interesting it is. Like we become so quickly illusioned. If a person is riding on a bicycle, a bus driver will never give a way to that bicycle rider because the bus driver will think, I am sitting in a bus. Who is this a bicycle fellow? But actually, you are not big. The bus is big. Correct? But
Mm.
sitting in the bus makes me think I am big. So this is what is being explained here. That whatever things happen, it's being done by the Prakriti. You are sitting on top of that Prakriti or you are surrounded by that Prakriti and you start imagining that it's me who is doing all that. But it's the Prakriti which is doing it. It is the bus which is big, not me.
Mm. Yes, Prabhuji.
It may also happen that the person who is on the cycle may be two times the size of person who is driving the bus. But still the person who is driving the bus will think I'm bigger than that person. Right? So here it is being trying to explain that the jiva is only animating Prakriti. So whatever is being done is actually being done by Prakriti. The jiva is only animating it.
So for example, Prabhuji, if we take an example of two human beings, one is more content, one is more passionate. So the Prakriti is influencing the Jiva to be more passionate.
This is all Prakriti game. What is
Mm.
passion? Passion means coming from Rajaguna.
Mm.
Content means coming from Sattva Guna. So it's all the game of Prakriti. The Jiva is all aloof in one sense.
Mm.
But why is the Jiva attached to a certain kind of Prakriti?
Mm.
That is because of the Jiva's own
Karma.
karma.
Karma. Yeah. Yes. Mm.
Jiva's own karma. And at the end, Jiva's a desire to lord over. I'm sitting in a bus because I have a desire to lord over the bus, and I'm on a bicycle because I have a desire to lord over the bicycle. Both have this desire, the base desire to lord over. But I have chosen a particular object of Prakriti to lord over, and someone else has chosen another object of Prakriti to lord over. And then that object is provided. So one thinks, now this is me. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Next
Thank you
verse.
very much.
Next verse. Purusha prakriti sthohi bhunte prakriti jangunan aranam guna sangosya sat asachyo janmasho. So why is the Jiva situated in Prakriti? Because of his beginningless karma. Karma which is beginningless. His impressions of karma are beginningless. And because of that, the Jiva just acts as an agent. Mm. So these imprints of karma which are there on the chitta of the jiva, they are a lot. We can't say how much. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's like terabytes and terabytes of, you know, impression. We can't say how much. And it's all there on the chitta. So purifying that is a big task. It's like, deleting the entire hard disk, everything. And you know something very interesting? When you delete everything from the hard disk, still it doesn't get deleted. You know about it or not? You don't know about it? It is true actually. You may think it is deleted, but then there are ways of recovering that data also. So similarly, from our chitta also things don't get deleted very easily. It is there and it's there since long time. So how do those impressions get purified? They only get purified by sadhu sangha. That's the only way. The guna sangha can be purified by sadhu sangha. That's the only way of purifying those impressions. So because of those impressions, the jiva is trying to lord over material nature. Purusha prakriti sthohi bhungte, trying to lord over. Prakriti jan gunan. Karanam guna sangasya. So this verse is there in Chaitanya Charitamrita which speaks Krishna bhuli se jiva anadi bahirmukha deva maya tare deya sansara dukkha. So anadi bahirmukha is, since anadi means beginningless, bahirmukha, which means the jiva instead of focusing on its own constitutional nature, it is focusing everything outside. And this is our disease. Each one of us are diseased by this problem. That instead of being antarmukhi, we are bahirmukhi. Every jiva who is conditioned is bahirmukha. Bahirmukha means instead of focusing inside, it's always focusing outside. What's happening around? Very rarely focuses on what's happening inside. What's happening outside? What's happening outside? So those people who are always focusing on what's happening outside are always disturbed because there's only one thing which is happening outside, and that is disturbance. There's nothing else which is happening outside. You know. So Ateva Maya Tare Deya Sansara Dukkha. And because his focus is external, and externally everything is bad, so this person is always suffering. Uh, this is the problem. External consciousness makes us suffer. Let's read the translation. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil among various species. Purport. Prithvi Jamalari, can you please read?
This verse is very important for an understanding of how the living entities transmigrate from one body to another. It is explained in the second chapter that the living entity is transmigrating from one body to another just as one changes dress. This change of dress is due to his attachment to material existence. As long as he is captivated by this false manifestation, he has to continue transmigrating from one body to another. Due to his desire to lord it over material nature, he is put into such undesirable circumstances. Under the influence of material desire, the entity is born sometimes as a demigod, sometimes as a man, sometimes as a beast, as a bird, as a worm, as an aquatic, as a saintly man, as a bug. This is going on. And in all cases, the living entity thinks himself to be the master of circumstances, yet he is under the influence of material nature. How he is put into such different bodies is explained here. It is due to association with the different modes of nature. One has to rise, therefore, above the three material modes and become situated in the transcendental position. This is called that is called Krishna consciousness. Unless one is situated in Krishna consciousness, his material consciousness will oblige him to transfer from one body to another because he has material desires since time immemorial, but he has to change that conception. That change can be effected only by hearing from authoritative sources. The best example is here. Arjuna is hearing the signs of God from Krishna, the living entity. If he submits to this hearing process, will lose his long cherished desire to dominate material nature and gradually and proportionately as he reduces his long desire to dominate, he comes to enjoy spiritual happiness. In a Vedic mantra, it is said that as he becomes learned in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he proportionately relishes his entire eternal blissful life. Thank you, Panch.
Sorry. A very important lesson to learn here is understanding this whole explanation. We know that our disease is quite chronic. Hmm. Uh, because we have been suffering from it since a long time. Therefore, every devotee on the spiritual path has to be very patient. And this is going to take time. It's not going to be that quick. It will take time. The purification will happen, but it takes time. And we have to be then very patient and then with so much of perseverance, put efforts on this path, purifying our consciousness day by day. Mm. Understanding that it's not that we have been here since short time and therefore everything will happen very quickly to us. It takes time. Of course, Krishna can do magic, but then Krishna also wants us to do some hard work. So let's read these verses. A small exercise for you to do. You read these verses shown on the screen.
Prabhuji, can I ask a question?
Yes, Varshnava.
Prabhuji, in the last verse, when we were reading about the Prakriti and the living entity, so what we learn is that if one maintain this mindset of being seeing himself separate from the nature, is it that he will not incur, if somebody, let's say, is in that stage, will he not incur karma for
No,
his activity?
definitely not. That's why this whole thing is being explained to us. If a person comes to that level of consciousness, then whatever he does, he becomes free from karma because he knows that I'm not doing. Karma comes because of what? It's a very good question you asked. And I'm happy you asked this question because only someone who is able to think little bit can get such questions. So it's good that you are thinking. So karma comes because of what? Karma comes because of the identity that I am doing. If you give up that, there's no karma. You can go and kill thousands of people, still no karma. That's what Arjuna did, no? Kill millions of people, no karma.
But here one thing, Prabhuji, like this is not like service to Lord. What we say is if we do everything for the Krishna, then it is a karma
No, no,
state.
no, no.
But
That is because that's you have to understand. No, there are different paths. When you say do everything
mm,
for Krishna, that is a path
that
of
is bhakti.
yeah, bhakti or nishkam karma yoga. But I can
Mm,
also do everything just on the
yeah.
basis of jnana. That is also one
Mm,
path, no?
okay. But in this path, Prabhuji, one more question, that desire, that eternal desire to Lord, mm, just having that mentality that everything is like I am separate from the nature and it is a nature who is doing. This is one thing, and that then there is other thing, that desire. So if one maintains this, then this desire to enjoy will automatically not be there.
No, it won't be there because the desire to enjoy comes after the desire of doing something. There are three things which you should know. Uh, First is doership. This is what we studied in chapter 5. First is doership. Kartritva, it is called. Kartritva means the feeling that I am doing. It's called kartritva. Then the next is ownership. Because I'm doing it, it is mine. And then because I own it, then the third thing is enjoyership. Bhoktritva. Because it's mine, I can enjoy.
Mm,
It all starts with this kartritva mentality. And then it goes to ownership and then it goes to enjoyership.
okay.
I'll tell a very interesting incident. Uh, so how this pitches in, it's like this. I'll tell you just to make clarify. We are not trying to find fault with anyone, but we are just trying to clarify here. So uh, one devotee told me this story, this incident. So this devotee, he also is preaching online and he has a YouTube channel and all that stuff, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and all that. So he posts some things on his channel and there's people who view it. So one of the students of this person was given a task by this devotee that you make a poster. So that person made that poster. And then this devotee, he put that poster on different platforms. You know. So far, there was a technical fault in the channels, and this person who is the student who made the poster has been following that channel since long. But he did not, though he even observed the fault, he did not point it out that you see there is a fault in the channel and the posters are not getting properly displayed. But as soon as the student personally made the poster and that poster had to go onto the channel, and when that fault came, then immediately that student said, Prabhuji, that poster is not visible properly. So why this concern has come suddenly? Because that person made the poster. If that person would not have made the poster, it's not my, anyway, it's not mine. Why should I bother about it? But as soon as I did it, I did it. So then, in a very subtle way, you start, because I did it. So I have to now think about it. I know I have to protect it. I have to do this. I have to do that. So it all comes because of this first thing. I am the doer. If one can give up that, then everything is gone.
But
Therefore,
mm,
the devotees also give it up. Give it up in a different way. Srila Prabhupada, you did so much. I did nothing. It's all by the mercy of my Guru Maharaj. They also giving up the doership mentality. But instead of saying Prakriti is doing everything, they're saying my Guru Maharaj is doing everything. I'm doing nothing.
Yes.
You are able to understand? Hmm?
Yes, Prabhuji, I'm able to understand. But in this, I also wanted the next verse says that this desire is from long, long time.
Hmm.
So for the person who get this understanding and maybe maintaining this knowledge that I am not the doer, and we have learned that it will go only after sadhu sangha. So then that person has to do it to ultimately, मतलब who is in this gyan marg, to ultimately get rid of everything.
Sorry. Who is ultimately? I didn't understand. One who is on Gyan Marg.
The actually who has got this knowledge and who is sort of living it, but still we have learned that this karma or this impression on the chitta is from long, long time, and which gets clarified once we are in association of good sadhus or pure devotees. So wouldn't they need it?
The Gyan, those are on the Gyan Marg, would they not
Yes,
need it?
yes.
So they are also sadhus, no? Who's saying that they are not sadhus? They are also sadhus, no? So the Gyan who are on the Gyan Marg, they have their sadhu sangha. Those Gyanis who are more advanced than them, that is their sadhu sangha, right? Sadhu doesn't mean that it has to be only a Vaishnava. For them, that is sadhu sangha. They mix with advanced Gyanis.
Mm.
But
Yes,
ultimately, we know that that cannot bring complete purification. Anyway, Gyan has to also be mixed with Bhakti to some extent. Then Gyan can give some results, good results. Whereas Gyan can also not give good results if not mixed with Bhakti.
yes.
Mm.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much. This clarifies a lot.
Okay,
But
let's.
Prabhuji, one question, sorry. You have
uh,
given this poster example, right? So in a practical scenario, when we are doing services, we have that accountability that the service should go fine. I mean, this is quite
that
obvious that
that
the
accountability has to be there, no doubt about it.
Mm.
But then,
So
but
mm,
I'm trying to explain that that accountability factor has to be there. But then we should also know because we are conditioned, along with
mm,
accountability, we also have doership mentality.
mm,
So if a pure devotee would do something like that, then I will not give this as an example because the conditioned soul did it. So I am giving this as an example.
mm,
Because when you say a conditioned soul means
mm,
naturally that doership mentality is there,
mm,
right? If we think that I'm a conditioned soul, but I don't have doership mentality, then we are totally wrong.
yes, Prabhu.
So that is there. Accountability should be there. If you're doing some seva and things are not happening properly, you should pay attention to it and you should get it done nicely. But at the
Mm,
same time, because we are not pure, so we also have the other factor, which is going along with that
mm,
accountability. So a person has to be very conscious that is it really my accountability or is it because I did it, that's why I'm identifying with it too much?
yes, Prabhuji, correct.
So you have to also think about it. Am I identifying too much just because I'm involved?
Mm,
Or it's that I'm really accountable. And if you are really accountable, then you should also be having similar concerns when you are not involved,
mm,
isn't it? Like, will you protect the house which is on fire only if you're living in the house? No, if you are really concerned about the house, then even if it's not your house, you should think of protecting it if it's on fire.
yes.
Correct. But then because I'm living in it and I'll protect it, so that may be accountability, yes, but at the same time, it is also attachment. So this thing is seen actually, I'm telling you, this thing is very common. And Why I gave an example of a devotee? Because it's always easy to point out
Mm.
these faults in a non-devotee. We tend to always, tell, oh, non-devotees have this fault, and this is their consciousness, and this is how. So we try to always put the problem in their basket.
Yes,
But
Prabhuji.
we have to also see that as a sadhaka, we also are struggling with those problems, those faults. You know,
Yes, Prabhuji.
we get this doership. I did it. It's because of me. I have done it, right? Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So one thing, another which is very important thing is when people become very advanced, they know that, like, if you want to drive the car, you have to sit in the car. You can't be outside the car and drive it. So when you sit in the car, definitely you will have little sense that I am putting the brake, I am pressing on the accelerator, I am moving the gear, I am controlling the steering wheel. That much little identification has to be there. Otherwise, how are you going to do anything? Isn't it? Correct? So those who are very advanced jnanis or who are very advanced bhaktas, they interact with Prakriti only as much as it is required. And after that interaction is over, they immediately disconnect themselves. And this thing can only come by abhyas or practice. And a very good example of this is Bhishma Pitamaha. Lying on the bed of arrows, you know, he was explaining about different vidyas to Maharaj Yudhishthir, how he should be a king, how he should be this, how he should be that. And then immediately when Bhishma Pitama got this signal that now very few moments are left with me, I'm going to leave this body, Bhagavatam Shloka says that he, in a moment, he removed his consciousness from all the external affairs. Right? In a moment, he just disconnected himself. You can say unplugged himself, you know, and he pointed that consciousness on just one personality standing in front of him, that is Sri Krishna. So those who are very advanced, they also develop this ability to become disconnected in a single moment. You know? And that's how at the time of death they are able to disconnect themselves. So this is what actually sadhana is all about. So when we are chanting in the morning, we're doing 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra Japa. Actually, it is a practice to disconnect yourself from external reality and be focused in the internal reality. So one who does that very well, when that moment will come of death, he or she will disconnect, you know. So this is how it functions actually. All right, let's do this exercise. How do Gyanis give up ownership mentality? Is that your question, Sharada Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Because they don't have doership mentality, so they give up ownership mentality naturally. They don't even think that this is my body. Or what to think of I am this body. They don't even think this is my body. They give up this ownership mentality. And this is because they see this difference. I'm separate from matter or Bhagavad-Gita. I'm different. Just like I'm different from my car. All right. Let's do this exercise. You can see on the screen. Read the verses and then find the answers for these questions. 4 questions.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hmm?
Prabhuji, first question. What do you conclude? So, Prabhuji, we can conclude that nature is the cause of all causes, and a living entity falsely thinks himself the doer, and rather he is only, uh, and by thinking that he suffers and enjoys the result. His
Yeah.
karma.
Correct. So Prakriti done. It's Prakriti which is doing. I only because of identification suffer or enjoy, you know. And you should know this very well that we are trying to understand this subject by separating the Jiva and Prakriti. But in reality, it's not separate. It's one unit. Just for studying it, we are separating it. You know, you're understanding.
Yes, Prabhuji.
For studying it, we are separating it. But in reality, it's not separate. As long as we are conditioned, who is doing everything? I can't say Prakriti is doing everything. Actually, I am doing everything because I'm conditioned. So actually, I am doing everything. But to study it, analyze it, when you separate it, then you understand. It's the Prakriti aspect of mind which does everything. The actual aspect of mind doesn't do. It's separate from Prakriti. Right? So next, since the Prakriti is unconscious element, how is it the doer? It is unconscious. So then how is it the doer? So what is the answer to that? Huh? Who wants to try that?
Um, it is moved by the conscious living entity.
Yeah, it is moved. So it is itself unconscious, but it is animated. Conscious living entity.
The car example that you gave, Prabhuji, was depicts that.
Yes, yes, correct. Then next, can Prakriti act, desire, perceive, or acquire knowledge?
No.
No, Prabhuji.
No, right? It cannot. Why? Because in itself it is not capable.
Unconscious.
It is unconscious. So next, what actual do these verses want to give? Like, what does they want to tell us? What is that they're trying to teach us actually?
Usually, the desire to lord it over material nature makes living entity thinks that he is doer, but he is actually not the doer. Material nature is actually the doer.
Prabhuji, the 14.91 gives the actually reply to this. Seems. When one properly sees that in all activities no other performer is at work than these modes of nature, and he knows the Supreme Lord, who is transcendental, and all these modes he attains spiritual nature.
False identification.
So here these verses they say that the Prakriti is doing everything, which means to show the prominence of her function. It's like sometimes when I'm carrying a book in my hand, so I can say my hand is carrying the book, right? The hand is carrying the object. So the jiva, he accomplishes things using Prakriti. But the scriptures, they say the Prakriti is accomplishing it. And it is correct in one sense. But if the responsibility of all that will go to someone's head, so that will be the jiva. He did it. So he should be punished or he should be rewarded. You know, because ultimately it's because of the jiva's desire to lord over material nature. So Prakriti is doing, but responsibility goes not to Prakriti, it goes to jiva. It's done by Prakriti, but the responsibility goes to jiva. He did it. You know, because he is involved. If he was not involved, it would not have happened. When someone is murdered using a knife, what murdered the person? The knife. But who is put into the jail? The knife. No, the person is using the knife. Then- So who did the murder? The knife did the murder. But who's in the jail? The person who's using the knife. So everything is done by Prakriti. Who gets responsible? The Jiva gets responsible. If the Jiva gives up that responsibility, he's free then. No punishment. As long as the Jiva identifies with that responsibility. No punishment is there.
Prabhu, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What do you mean by giving up responsibility?
Giving up responsibility means the doership mentality.
It's a little hard for me to comprehend because I'm thinking from like, okay, if I have moved a book, or taken something off of a table, how can I not think that I didn't do it? Like, to put it very simply, Prabhu, I'm trying
Yeah.
to
So
wrap
you
my
you will
mind
think
around.
you will think like that you did it because you think you are the body. The body moves the book from one place to another place. So we'll think you did it.
Yeah, it's very difficult to comprehend this. Yes.
So, but who did it?
Mm.
The body did it, right?
Hmm.
And I'm separate from the body. So
But if
it's like
somebody has this thought process and let's say they commit a heinous crime,
he
how
will not
how are they
commit a crime. No, then how will he commit a crime?
Mhm.
If one is free from all this, if one is having this thought process, I'm not doing, then where will there be any control of material nature on that person? If someone is committing crime, why is he committing crime? Because he's controlled by lust, anger, greed, all that stuff.
Mhm.
So if one is thinking like this, I'm not the doer, how will lust come in picture? How will anger come in picture?
But it
Why
can
or
come from the past, no, Prabhuji.
Hmm?
why or why not, Prabhu?
Why? Because all those material, what is lust? It's a product of material guna, no?
Mhm.
It's a force, right? Of three, it's a force of three modes of material nature, isn't it?
Yes. So,
So if I'm free of all those conceptions, then I'm free from the influence of three modes.
mhm. So if you have this conception, or if you realize this conception, it is understood that you have surpassed the three modes. Is that
Yeah,
that
of
the correct
course,
understanding?
of course. If
Okay.
you have if you have surpassed three modes, then only you can come to this realization. Otherwise, how is it possible?
Hmm.
If you have
Yeah.
not surpassed three modes, then you'll identify with the three modes.
Mm.
Surpassing it means you don't identify with it anymore. That's called surpassing it.
Okay.
But Prabhuji, till then we believe that we are the doer, right?
Yeah,
I
of
mean,
course.
till
You believe. Till then you believe you are the doer. Until then you are the doer. Until then you only
Mhm.
suffer, enjoy what you have done.
Mm.
So that is the stage of perfection. But then path of to perfection is the practice of this perfection. Na? The path is same as the perfection stage. So those who are practicing, they will also practice this only. Of course, they will not become successful in their practice, or but they have to practice the same thing. I'm not the doer. Prakriti is doing.
But how does one
ये भी
practice?
सब हटाना पड़ेगा नीचे ना
Who is
ये यहाँ
How
पे
asking?
डालते
does
नहीं
how does one actually practice such a mentality, or how does one come to such a mentality
Which mentality?
of giving up doership, ownership mentality?
For that, it depends which path you are taking. Those who are taking the path of Gyan, so they'll study all this. This will naturally make them think I'm not the doer.
Hmm.
Not if that's the goal, for achieving that goal, you have to walk a certain path. So you decide which path you want to take, and then through that path, you come to that realization. As a devotee, also, you can come to that realization if you practice it. I'm not doing it, is all by the mercy of Krishna and Guru.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So it's all by practice that one comes. Now, how you practice, that is a different thing. There are different paths, and then you practice in those ways. So a jnani has a type of practice, a devotee has a type of practice. A karmi also has the same, has a type of practice. Karma yogi, he cannot think like this and understand like this. So a karma yogi knows only one thing: let me work and I give the result to Krishna. So that act of giving the result of Krishna will purify his consciousness, and he will also begin to understand all this stuff. So you can understand, you can come to this conclusion or realization in many ways. In multiple ways it is possible. Just by chanting Hare Krishna also you can come to this realization. If you don't do anything, you just sit and chant Hare Krishna, then also you can come to this realization.
Prabhuji, uh, even if one, like as it is given in 13.30, that one who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees it. Isn't it only possible when the soul is completely cleansed of the false ego?
Yeah.
Because as long as the body is functioning, it functions under the desire of the soul, right? To lord it over on something.
Yes, it functions as the desire of the soul. Correct. That is true. It functions under the desire of the soul. So here we try to understand one is the stage of perfection, other is the stage of practice. So one who is perfect, he will be able to do it perfectly, but someone who is practicing will also do it to some extent. So a Jnani has to think like that. I'm not the doer, I'm not the doer, I'm not the doer. Though he is doing and sometimes he's also thinking I'm the doer. He has to practice thinking I'm not the doer. Not that, okay, one day you will by yourself immediately start thinking like that. I am not the doer. No, you have to practice. Just like we say, na dhanam, na janam, as the prayer by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we are saying na dhanam, na dhanam, na dhanam. But actually, at other times, we also say yes dhanam, yes dhanam, yes dhanam.
Materially required.
We are practicing, right? Na dhanam, na dhanam, na dhanam. But then at many times we end up saying yes dhanam, yes dhanam. So now can one say, I'm not at the stage of na dhanam, so why should I say na dhanam? When I'll come to that stage, then I'll say na dhanam. Then you're never going to come to that stage. Right.
Prabhuji,
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
What?
Prabhuji, how can one free from oneself from attachment to these three modes of natures?
By bhakti. This will be explained by Krishna, don't worry. In this chapter, verse number 26, Krishna will explain. By unalloyed devotional service, one can become free from three modes. But that bhakti has to be different than what we all do. We have to go 50 years back in time and then look at the type of bhakti which Srila Prabhupada asked his disciples to do. And then we have to do that kind of bhakti if we want to overcome three modes of material nature. If we do the bhakti which we do in iskcon in 2025, 2026, that bhakti will not take us back to Godhead. Because our style of doing bhakti is very different from the style of bhakti which Prabhupada taught to his disciples. That was different style of bhakti. Our bhakti is mixed bhakti, it's not pure bhakti. We don't do pure devotional service. We do mixed devotional service. So first of all, it has to come to pure devotional service. Then that pure devotional service can take us beyond the three modes of material nature. Mixed devotional service will give us benefits, no doubt about it. And it can also give huge benefits, but not exactly the benefit that we might be desiring. So pure devotional service has to be accepted. The practice of pure devotional service. In three modes we can transcend. Otherwise, very difficult to transcend three modes. How is it possible? It's not possible only. Krishna says it's very difficult. Mam maya durateya. Very difficult to cross over my maya. Right? It's very difficult. Very, very difficult. It's not easy to cross over maya. So we have to do that thing, practice. Then someone may say, but then I cannot do practice pure devotional service in this life. No problem. That's also okay. At least we can desire for it. Let me desire for it. If not this life, next life. But let me desire for pure devotional service.
But we should not desire for the next life also, no, Prabhuji.
You desire for pure devotional service, next life Krishna will decide whether you should get or not. You don't desire for next life, you desire for pure devotional service. And Krishna will decide whether next life, 2 lives, 10 lives, 20 lives. That Krishna will decide. But we have to desire pure devotional service. That's very important. Desire should be there. If we have it, it's good. If we don't have it, we have to desire it. And it's very important to desire that, because without that, we cannot overcome 3 modes. It's not possible. Without pure bhakti, overcoming 3 modes is not possible. We'll get stuck. Somewhere we'll get stuck. If not Rajoguna, Tamoguna, we'll get stuck at Sattvaguna. Only Shuddha Bhakti can take us beyond. Nothing else. That Shuddha Bhakti is very nicely explained in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which we'll study at last. Right? And this is something which I always tell. This is the least read book in iskcon. Though it is the most important book, it is the least read book in iskcon. Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. But it's the most important book, because this is where actually bhakti or pure bhakti begins. Bhagavad-Gita is not about pure bhakti, honestly speaking. Gita is not. That is the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, that in his purpose he is bringing pure devotional service. But Gita is not teaching pure devotional service. That is not the subject of Gita, actually. Gita is Yoga Shastra. Gita is not even Bhakti Shastra. That's why you have Karma Yoga, Gyan Yoga, Nishkam Karma Yoga, Dhyan Yoga, everything in Gita, no? Gita is Yoga Shastra. So Gita is very, like you can say, primary basic subject matter, honestly speaking. It's very basic. It is Prabhupada's purpose, it's the Acharya's purpose, which is making it so sweet and devotional. They are putting the devotional light on it. Otherwise, Gita is a very basic scripture which teaches you how to live a good human being life. I thought how to be a dharmic person, how to be involved in yoga, all that stuff. It doesn't really get into too much of depth of pure devotional service and all that. It's very less. Prabhupada's purports are like that. He brings Krishna in every purport. But actually, Gita is not really like that. When that is Bhakti Samrit Sindhu last.
I think I'm speaking a little frankly, Prabhuji, but we don't even have the desire to desire for pure devotion. So how do we develop this? Yeah.
How do you develop? You develop it by reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, by associating with pure devotees, by reading about the life of Srila Prabhupada and other great Vaishnava Acharyas. Then you get the desire, because then you also develop this feeling, I wish I can also experience something like this. When you get that desire, oh, I also want to be like that. That's why it is there provided to us. Why is Chaitanya Charitamrita is given to us? Why Srila Prabhupada told his disciple, His Holiness Satsvarup Maharaj, to write a book on my life. Wow. So that we read it and then we develop that desire that I also want to become like this, so dependent on Krishna, so pure, so selfless, so loving towards Krishna. I wish I can also be like that. Because everything begins with the seed of desire. And it has to be your desire, not someone else's desire. It has to be your desire. Means it should come from your inside. Yeah, I want to be like that. I wish I can be like that. So how do we develop desire? We develop desire in this way, by Sangha.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I have a question.
Yes.
So I just want to try to understand this a little bit better. Is it acceptable to say that because me, the jiva, who has a desire to study Bhagavad-Gita, I've been, due to my past karma, been given a certain type of body. And this Prakriti is acting, therefore, because of this body, this nature, and based on good impressions from previous lives, etc. Therefore, I'm actually not studying Bhagavad Gita. I'm not the doer. The body's Prakriti is the doer.
Yeah.
Is that the understanding? Okay. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
So yeah, it's true that one may think like that. But then you should know one thing, that if you are doing the study of Bhagavad Gita inspired by the three modes, which is also possible, then the result of that study will be some punya, some pious credit.
How do I get it to be I do it for Krishna then? How do I make the transition?
So you make the transition by some I mean reflection on why you're doing it. Are you doing it just because you have some likingness towards Bhagavad Gita, or you're doing
I
it
want to know Krishna because I want to
because
know more about him.
you are doing it because you want to please your guru,
Yeah.
you want to please Srila Prabhupada,
Okay.
you want to please Krishna. So why you're doing it? That decides, is it bhakti or not bhakti.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
If it is being done, oh, I have so much of free time, let me just study Gita. It's not bhakti. You only have curiosity. You don't have bhakti. So bhakti means it has to be done for the pleasure of Krishna. I want to please Krishna by my study. I want to please Srila Prabhupada. I want to please my Guru Maharaj. And if it is for bhakti, you will have a lot of enthusiasm while doing it. And if it is just for the sake of doing it, then you will not have a good spirit. It will be like, okay, I'm doing it. So bhakti is very powerful because it's a force of love. So when you have that force of love pushing you to do something, then you do that thing with great enthusiasm, great joy, you know. And when you just do it like that, I mean, half-heartedly or just dragging you along, then that means it's not really by bhakti. The bhakti force is not there. So this is something which we have to always do checking in our own consciousness. That's why, bhakti is not easy. Bhakti is very difficult. It is said that it is easy. It's not easy. Yeah, it is easy. But for Srila Prabhupada, it is easy. because he's a bhakta, he's a devotee. So for him, the bhakti is easy. But for us, it's not easy because this is not our, you can say, cup of tea. For us, bhoga is easy. Bhakti is not easy. To enjoy is easy. To serve is not easy. Therefore, one has to spend good amount of time to understand this subject, what it is actually. That effort one has to put, and one has to be always so very conscious that what am I doing? Is it? Therefore, what we are studying, it's actually a self-personal study. It's not something which is just to do the course, get the certificate. It's actually a study which we should do personally also. Even after the course gets over, you should do the study on your own, studying all these things. And why study? Not because you have to give a class, to study because you want to personally understand and get into it. So we should do that because Krishna is watching all of us and he's seeing how much we are making good use of the opportunity that we are getting, how eager we are for what we are getting. He's watching. So that eagerness is proportional to bhakti. If you are having bhakti, you will be eager. Bhakti is not there, then that eagerness will not be there. Then there will be laziness. Right? So that's the whole thing. I'll tell you an incident, a story I said in the Hindi class. I'll tell you also what bhakti looks like. Just to give you an example. So His Holiness Indra Swami Maharaj, he was in Vrindavan in the month of Kartik. He was taking devotees around on parikrama. So I think he was visiting Barsana, where he noticed two of his disciples from outside India. They were talking to a farmer, a local farmer. And Maharaj noticed that they were talking to him for a long time. See, he was wondering, they don't understand even a bit of Hindi. And this local farmer of Barsana, I'm sure he doesn't understand any English. So how they are talking to each other? You know, language is not common to either of them. Hindi is not known by him, English is not known by him. So Maharaj, out of curiosity, he went close to listen to their conversation. And to his big surprise, he found that the farmer knew English and is speaking very nice English. So Maharaj then asked this farmer that, how come you know such nice English? You live in a village. So he said, actually, I've studied a lot. I could have gotten a job. I could have been in a bank doing something or like that. But I have so much love for Vrindavan, I didn't want to go out of Vrindavan. So I preferred to remain a farmer just because I wanted to stay in Vrindavan, in Raj. You know. So I do farming and I survive like that. So then he told Maharaj, yeah, about some of the things in Barsana. You see that mountain top, you see? Where is the footprint of Srimati Radharani? And you see there in that corner, Krishna did this pastime with the gopis. And there he did that, and there he did that. So Maharaj said, you know a lot about Barsana, it seems. So he said, I know. Everyone knows. Who doesn't know all this? We live in Barsana, so how will we not know about Barsana and Radharani? Even a child in Barsana know all this stuff. So it's not that only I know. So Maharaj was very impressed by this person. So he told in the temple above, I'm going to give a katha. Would you like to join us? He said, of course, why not? So he came and he sat in the katha and he was listening to Maharaj's katha. Because he understood English, he was smiling and enjoying the whole katha. You know. And then at the end of the katha, Maharaj felt, I should have given this devotee some chance to speak because he is a born a Vrajvasi. I've been coming to Raj only for 30, 40 years, and I spent only 1 month here, but he's a born Vrajavasi. So he should speak about Krishna to devotees. So Maharaj apologized. He said, I'm sorry. I just kept on talking. I didn't give you a chance. So then the devotee said, I want to show you something, that Vrajavasi said. So I said, what? So he removed a bag and opened the bag and showed a book to Maharaj. So that book was Krishna book written by Srila Prabhupada. So Maharaj said, oh, this book is my spiritual master's book. How do you have it? He said, once I was traveling on a bus. So someone left this book behind in the bus. No one claimed for it. So I took it from there. And I started reading it. And then he told Maharaj, this is my favorite book. Favorite. So Maharaj said, Acha, it's your favorite book? How many times you have read it? He said, in 2 years, I have read it 17 times. I said, why did you read so many times? He said, because it is about Krishna and I love Krishna. So this is called bhakti. No one told him to read it. But this is about Krishna and I love Krishna. So this is bhakti. Then Maharaj was like, oh, you have so much love for Krishna. You're such a nice devotee. So he said, yeah, I love your Guruji's books. They are the best books in the world. So Maharaj said, do you have other books also? He said, no, I'm a poor farmer. I don't have money. How can I buy? So I said, don't worry. I'll send you the entire set. So definitely, please send me all the books written by him. I'll study them. Then I'll go to village after village in Vraj and I'll tell people about what I read. In this way, I'll share the message of Krishna with everyone. You know. So Maharaj was so amazed by meeting this person. And he said, this is bhakti, so much of feeling, so much of emotion, so much of eagerness, enthusiasm to know about Krishna, to tell others about Krishna, to serve Krishna. Mm. So that is bhakti. We are far away from that bhakti. And maybe we should desire it. Someday we'll get it. Okay.
Beautiful story, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for sharing this.
It's not story, it is reality. So this is bhakti. That's why we have to pray for bhakti. Bhakti is very rare. It is very deep. Okay, we stop here. If no other questions, we end the class. If there is a question, you can ask. No, we stop. We continue next class after verse 23.